Moving to the assessment of paragraph 29, intercommunal and interethnic violence, the recommended actions were that the state party should strengthen its efforts to A, ensure safety and security in the region, including through providing safe shelters, especially for women and children, and B, ensure that all attacks against acts of interethnic violence and allegations of excessive use of force by governmental actors are investigated, those responsible are brought to justice, and victims granted full reparations. Information received from the state party is that in 2009, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, hereinafter NSCDC, Agro Rangers came into force as part of the federal government's Agro Rangers program designed to protect farmers. The NSCDC has deployed 3,000 Agro Rangers to forestall attacks on farms between farmers and herdsmen, particularly in parts of Benue, Taraba, Plateau, Niger, Nasarawa, and Kaduna, among others, and to boost farmers' confidence to work on their farms without fear of attack. Measures to ensure safety and security in the region include capacity building to increase critical infrastructure protection for soft targets and the development of a national protection strategy. In 2021, a draft national policy on prevention of civilian and civilian harm mitigation was domesticated and processed by the Ministry of Interior for inputs. The implementation of this policy, when enacted, would provide more information on outcomes of investigation. The information received from stakeholders is that in spite of the state's efforts, communal violence has continued since July 2019. Violence has exponentially increased, and new actors such as the Islamic State West Africa Province, ISWAP, and bands of Islamist Fulani militants have taken on roles in the violence, including executions and inhuman and degrading treatment of civilians, the burning of homes and places of worship, kidnapping and enslavement of women and girls, and coerced conversions. There have also been numerous incidents of shootings and extensive evidence of Fulani attacks on the Igbo people of southeast Nigeria, committed with impunity and aimed at the forcible transfer of population in the context of a widespread and systematic attack on the civilian population. Many Almajiris and other peoples from the north states have been blocked entry into various Nigerian states, such as the Abia state and Enugu state. The Nigerian authorities have failed to bring those responsible to justice and to ensure reparations are paid to the victims and their families. In January 2023, 5,014 Christians were killed by Islamists and other militant groups, and that another report in 2022 showed that between October 2019 and September 2021, jihadist assailants, including Fulani militants, Boko Haram, and ISWAP, had killed 8,560 Nigerian Christians and 2,417 Muslims. On the basis of the information received, the proposed grading for paragraph 29 is C. While noting the information provided regarding the deployment and efforts of the Agro Rangers, as well as on the draft national policy on prevention of civilian and civilian harm mitigation, the committee is concerned by reports of significantly increased communal violence committed by herders and Islamic groups on civilians and of the continued level of impunity of such acts. Furthermore, it regrets the lack of information on the investigation of cases of excessive use of force by government actors, their results, and any reparation granted to victims. The committee reiterates its recommendation and requests further information on the draft national policy and if it has been enacted, on its implementation and the impacts of said policy to reduce violence and ensure safety and security in the region. I will now proceed to the assessment of paragraph 31, conflict with Boko Haram and civilian protection. The recommended actions for this issue were that the state party should conduct prompt, impartial, and effective investigations into allegations of human rights abuses committed in the context of the conflict with Boko Haram, both by non-state and state actors, in order to identify, prosecute, and punish those responsible, and ensure that victims have access to effective remedies and full reparation, take steps to increase the transparency of the investigations, including publishing their findings, take measures to ensure the safety and security of the population affected by the conflict, and to prevent violations of their human rights by any party to the conflict. Information received from the state party is that, apart from the Federal Republic of Nigeria's 1999 Constitution, the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act of 2013, the National Action Plan for Preventing and Countering Violent Extremism of 2017, and the National Security Strategy of 2019 are all relevant institutional frameworks for counter-insurgency operations in the Northeast and across Nigeria. The Chief of Army Staff's policy directive was issued to commanders at all levels to prevent violations and improve compliance with Nigeria's domestic and international laws, guiding the conduct of operations by Nigerian Army personnel. The Service Compact with All Nigerians, Servicom initiative, has been strengthened in relevant ministries and agencies with the appointment of desk officers to attend to complaints by the public, ensuring redress for grievances. Under the Countering Violent Extremism program, various projects and activities were carried out focusing on education and awareness raising, dialogue with communities, and on the reintegration of reformed extremists. The government organized human rights education and training for police and military officers through the National Human Rights Commission. The National Internally Displaced Persons Policy prioritizes the protection of displaced women and establishes a framework for seeking restitution and holding state and non-state abusers accountable for human rights violation. The counterinsurgency operations in Nigeria's northeast have three difficult-to-achieve simultaneous goals: the protection of counterinsurgency forces, observance of human rights under the concept of distinction, and insurgent annihilation. Information received from stakeholders provides that the effectiveness of the state parties' initiatives has not been seen on the ground, and the criminal gang abductions are increasing. There are concerning reports of criminal gangs taking over rural communities in Koji and Katsina, Zamfara, and other northern states, and forcing the communities to pay tax to the gangs to be able to harvest their own crops without threats of violence. Criminal gangs continue to attack and take over whole communities and villages without an arrest and remain there enjoying impunity. There are at least 3 million internally displaced persons in Nigeria, with the majority of Nigerians being displaced on parts of northeast Nigeria and the country's middle belt, with increasing IDP populations also being reported in the northwest. IDPs in the middle belt report that nearly all of the aid and shelter provided comes solely from civil society actors. On the basis of the information received, the proposed grading for paragraph 31 is C. While welcoming the information regarding the steps taken to ensure the safety and security of the population affected by the conflict, including through the Countering Violent Extremism program, the committee is concerned by reports that little impact has been seen on the ground, and by the allegations that violence, including criminal gang abductions, is increasing. In this regard, the committee requests further information on the impacts of the activities implemented under the Countering Violent Extremism program. Furthermore, the committee regrets the lack of information provided on the investigations into allegations on human rights abuses committed in the context of the conflict with Boko Haram, both by non-state and state actors, and therefore reiterates its recommendations. So these are the proposed grading for Nigeria. And with this, I finalize my assessment. So, Chair, I return the floor back to you. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Igezu, again. To summarize, for paragraph 23, maternal mortality, reproductive rights, and termination of pregnancy, he proposed a grade B. And paragraph 29, intercommunal and inter-ethnic violence, he proposed grade C. And for paragraph 31, conflict with Boko Haram and civilian protection, he proposed grade C. So any opinions, proposals from the floor, from the members? Oh, Madam Basim, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you.
Mr. Chairperson, and again, thank you, Mr. Igezu, on this report, to which I agree, and I agree on the grading too. I just need one clarification, which is at the end, the last line of the summary of information received by the stakeholders. It says here, nevertheless, Islamist militants are not the sole perpetrator of such heinous atrocities. Could you please clarify? And in the evaluation, just the paragraph after, where your evaluation is C, to which I fully agree, the fourth line, I think there is a typo mistake. It's not Islamic groups, but Islamist groups. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Basim. There's no comments.
Thank you, Chair. For the second comment, yes, I mean that would be, and thank you, Madam Basim, for pointing this out. It's very important, and we will correct it. On the information, I didn't. Which paragraph did you mention on your first?
The last.
Yes, please.
It's the last line of the summary of the information received from stakeholders in page 4 in my version, in the English version. So the last line of the summary of the information received from stakeholders on paragraph 29.
Yeah. Secretary? Yeah, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This refers to the information provided by one of the CSOs, the Jubilee Campaign and Stefanos Foundation, where they also reported on situation in May 2022. A Christian university student was stoned to death and set on fire on her college campus by her very own classmates for allegedly blasphemous remarks. So it is referring to that situation.
Thank you, Brianna, for your clarification. Thank you, Madam Basim. So without any further comments, I think we will adopt this proposal. Thank you very much.